Good morning and welcome back to Val di Fiemme. It's the junior skiathlon about to start, and really difficult conditions. The snow has been falling now for 24 hours, but at last, just 1 hour postponed, the organisers have managed to press the track, clear all the advertising banners, and we're good to go.
5 kilometres of each discipline, as you can see. And the classic should be okay in the soft snow because the spores have already been cut. But when it comes to the skating, if the snow continues, the leaders are going to find it particularly tough. And it might actually be an advantage to be sitting a little further back in the group where the snow is pressed, the conditions a bit faster. We'll see who's got the frame of mind to be able to hang back and play it tactically. At junior level, Mike, often the athletes get a little bit carried away when it comes to the big occasion.
It's an interesting, and we've seen that over the last couple of days here in the under-23 category in the sprint races. Energy put out early on, and tactics playing a huge part. I think it will be a slow start to this one. Sarah Hale there for Great Britain. She's based in Sweden.
Yeah, nice to see the Australians represented as well, and the USA, but it is still the normal nations, Norway and Russia generally fighting it out, and the Italians looking very smart, and they've been pretty quick this week. They've had a certain amount of success in the sprinting, and certainly they'll be hoping to hold their own. What about the Norwegians?
Norwegians, as always, we've got the Veng twins here. They're both very good. They've got almost an identical track record, and it's super talented. Of course, their big sister is in the Olympic team. Interesting, the waxing, Patrick. Look at the skis. We've got about 50% of the athletes going on the waxless skis. 50% are going on what looks to me like Clister, but it's a nightmare day for the technicians, and I think a safer bet going on the waxless skis.
Yeah, hovering just above or just below zero at the moment, and the problem is, as you, especially here in Val di Fiemme, the temperature in the valley where the start is can be 2 degrees different from at the very top of the biggest climb, and that's where the issue comes. If the temperature varies either side of zero, to put a Clister on is absolute suicide.
I think it is, and I think with this snow continuing to fall, clearly the technicians have tried and tested their best options, and they must think it's safe for anybody to go on a little Clister base, expecting the tracks to glaze up, I suppose.
But the technicians, although they try and wax for the conditions that are going to happen during the race, they're really just reacting to the conditions where they are at that time, and there's always an element of risk, and it's going to be very sad if some of the leading lights in this race suddenly find they what we call clogged up, where you get the snow sticking to the base of your ski. There is nothing you can do except it's like running with a pair of hobnail boots on.
High heels skis. You're running along in this big ice base that's on the base of your skis. We'll have to wait and see which option is going to work best. A little bit of panicking there on the line. I think that was bib number 4, Nepieva. In fact, there she is. She's just getting a panic there, unnecessary, because there are many others around her still clipping into their skis.
Now the seeded skiers go on the front rank, and Sedova of Russia just getting herself into position a little bit late. You'll see a number of the athletes just sliding the skis, keeping the ski moving. They do not want the base of the ski to freeze, because that can be disastrous as well. Mike, would you lead out hard, or would you say I might as well stick in the pack?
I don't think it's wise to be leading it. Look at the snow. The Vorlaufers have been out, but there's still, what, 10 minutes since they skied round, and that's a significant difference in the pace at the front.
1 minute to the start. 1 minute to the start.
1 minute to go. So 45 seconds of nervous tension before the juniors skiathlon gets underway. 5Ks each discipline, and as always, the classic comes first. I'm a big advocate of alternating the lead, actually, Mike, because it so favours the freestyle skiers not having the classic leg second.
Yes, it does. I'm just trying to figure. Yes, if you're 30 seconds behind in the classic, and your stronger game is in the freestyle, you have a chance. But I think it's the best way to run it. Get this waxing game out of the way early, and then it's all just easy freestyle skiing.
But if you're a freestyle skier and you can hang on for the first half of the race, you have a chance. You could argue that the best classic skiers will have more in reserve for the second phase. We will see today. And looking very strong out the front, Julia Belger of Germany, wearing bib number 1, the favourite at the moment because she has better FIS points than anyone else in the field. But it's very tightly matched, actually, between Belger and the Russians. We've got Sedova and Neprieveva. Number 3, that's Zambalova. Well, it's slow, Mike. You can see that already. And those out front are essentially playing snowplow for everyone else.
I think they are, and well, going straight to the front. Sophia Henriksen, a brave attempt, and certainly the waxing so far, there doesn't seem to be any issues with the grip under the base of any of these athletes' skis, so it is working fine.
But is anyone getting any glide? You can see when the foot goes down, when the foot is fully weighted, most of their skis are coming to a grinding halt. That's normally the case on a steep uphill section, so we won't really get to find out until they hit the flats.
Nakstad there, 17, she doesn't seem to be gripping much there at all, the Norwegian.
I guess the one thing in their favour, Mike, is the fact that it's a 2.5 kilometre loop, so they'll be going round the classic loop twice, the freestyle loop twice as well. But you can see just how much soft snow there is. The first of the freestyle laps is going to be very, very hard work, and I suspect that we're still going to have a big group. I think it's going to be very difficult for someone to break away.
And there again, we saw a brief viewing of the changeover zone where they will come in after 5Ks and then clip into their freestyle skiing. I think that of course we're doing the east tracks first of all, the classic in the 2.5 kilometre on the east side, and then the freestyle on the west side. So 2 different sets of tracks, albeit the same first part of each of those tracks.
I just had an email come in from John in Glasgow saying, why was the pursuit renamed the Skiathlon?
Well, when you send every nation to Congress, they have to make some decisions. No, I think the pursuit, it came from the early days of the hunting start, and it seemed right. The same day they used to stage it, didn't they? They would have the 10 kilometre classic in the morning and the freestyle in the afternoon, so it was kind of the pursuit, the chase after the first event.
So the race has changed, and therefore they felt they should change the name as well.
Well, they kept the pursuit name for many years, and skiathlon, I suppose, is a combination of 2 different techniques, but certainly not 2 different sports in the athlon side of it. What else could we call it?
Well, in other words, we don't know. but anyway, that's the way it is, and it has been for the last few seasons, and will be in the Olympic Games next month as well. We could do with some of this snow out in Sochi, certainly. I think I had a look at the weather charts yesterday, 11 degrees in Sochi itself yesterday. But Sochi, of course, is right on the shores of the Black Sea, and most of the skiing taking place at 1,600 metres, some way inland.
Still dodgy, and it's there's fog and mist up there as well. Some issues.
Well, no breaks, as you can see, and in fact, I don't think many have been dropped off the back of the pack. From a field of 71, the majority still in with a chance of winning this race. The junior skiathlon, 2 times 5 kilometre, and as you can see, the first lap, first couple of laps in the classic style, the traditional style that was never really in danger of being phased out, but it certainly started to get some competition back in 1985. Just trying to think when the first skating was introduced. I think the first skating was in 1978 from a man called Piri Sitonen, and hence the single leg skate is known as the Sitonen step. And I think many people skated before that, Mike, because they'd mucked up on the wax, didn't have any grip, and that's all you could do. But it was so hard to go just 5 kilometres that you thought it was impossible.
It super loaded the muscles. It did seem impossible, and especially with the classic skis are so long and no support in the ankles from the classic shoes. So freestyle didn't really come in until the Seefeld World Championships, 1985.
85 certainly, when Gunde Svan made the switch instantly, didn't seem to have any problem. who was it? I think it was Thomas Fausberg, who'd been hiding away in the hills in Switzerland and came down, and he'd been practicing it for a couple of months. He'd realised what was going to happen and was ahead of the game.
Practice makes perfect. I remember when it all changed from the classic into the freestyle, many nations were quite late in picking up on it, especially the Russians at the time. And they did so badly in Seefeld in the 15-kilometer race that they were sent out that afternoon to do it again, just skating. Part punishment, part training.
So we've got a group of, 18, 19 in the front, and then a 10-meter gap back to the second group. And it's been the Russians prepared to do the work early on. Nice looking style from Zambavela.
Just trying to see the coach clearly, I think it's the German coach, clearly thinking that one of her athletes is having difficulty with the ski pole.
We'll have a look for some of the higher bib numbers in that leading group. They're the ones who've made ground, and now Zambavela, it's very early to be making a break, but she is starting to string out this leading group, and it always happens on the steep climbs, particularly at junior level. One or two slipping.
On the front, still Alisa Zambavela together now with the Germans from the recent Katharina Henning and Julia Delger. Here they come now for the 2.5 kilometers.
So coming up to the stadium for the first time, and that will obviously be the completion of the first 2.5K. Russia and two Germans in that leading group of three, sandwiched by another Russian at the back, but Zambavela is the one who's setting the pace at the moment. She was in the sprint event, did pretty well. And a lot of Russians getting through to the final stages of the sprints. What did you make of the sprint course?
I like the sprint course, and the same course as it was last year for the Senior World Championships. I didn't like in the women's field, I didn't like the tight left-hander, which was very, very a pivotal point in the race, and that made it a little tactically difficult for some of the athletes.
I had to think about that, Mike, and apart from the fact that it was tactically a crucial corner, it also meant the fact that they didn't climb very high before they came into the stadium meant that the women's finish actually was a lot longer than the men's. The men's had a big climb prior to coming into the stadium, and they were carrying very good speed in excess of 30 kilometers an hour into that finishing straight. The women had to work all the way, and in the women's race we saw quite a few positional changes in the last 500 meters, not so much in the men's.
Hey, and that is where Jessie Diggins lost her race, that last 200 meters. She didn't have the pace into the stadium.
Still, she looked pretty happy with the silver medal. So through they go. Number 42 at the back of that group is Conclini from Italy. Now the Russian suits very noticeable up the front. Alongside Zambavela is Neprieva, another of the sprint finalists.
Neprevia, last year she took a silver, a fifth and a fourth, and this year fourth in the sprint, so she's hovering around the medals, but that's probably why she's wanting with determination to get up there onto the podium today.
I like the work that Katrina Hennig in second place behind Zambavela. I like the way she's playing this race, Mike. She's not once has she gone into the front, just wanting to be right on the heels of the leader. Not quite so convinced by the technique, but I like the fact that she's positionally she's played a very smart game so far.
I think so. And number one slipping slightly, Julia Belger there. Well, she won her last skiathlon. She won it by 1:44, and that was in the Juniors Alpine Cup. So she really is, she's good at the freestyle, and she's hanging on in there at the top end in this classic so far.
Yeah, I think we're going to see the pace picking up in the last kilometre or so of the classic leg. They've got a K&a-half to go at the moment. Probably complete this climb, and then the leaders will really start to try and push the pace.
Certainly a separation, the climb out of the stadium. It's a long climb, 500 meters.
We were talking about the waxing at the start of the race, Mike, and 2 times around a 2.5 means that on the first lap you've got soft, loose snow. On the second lap you've got shiny, glazed snow.
And that's fair. And with the snow just stopping as well from in the last 10 minutes, again, I think you're right, they'll be glazed and much faster this time round. Well, this next section, a gentle climb here, and then it's undulating before. I think this is, well, the only recovery section, about 20 seconds recovery before we spin back down to the church, but they will be out of sight now for about a minute and a half.
Swedish fans will be glad to see they've got a couple of their suits up in that leading group of 10. Sofia Henriksson is the leading Swede at the moment, and we've seen her in the Swedish National Championships. Just trying to think, I know the Norwegian Championships were a couple of weeks ago. Might the Swedish National Championships at the same time?
That's right, around 18th, 19th of January, and final kind of selection for the Olympic Games. Patrick, what I'm noticing up here, I'm very surprised, we're not seeing any of the Norwegian red suits. Well, there's the first. I expected to see the 4 Norwegian girls up at the front. I think they're having a bad waxing day. Well, there we are. There's a second Norwegian.
Yeah,
out of touch.
A long way back at the moment. Not out of the race altogether because of the second phase. And I think the leader's going to find the initial part of the skating loop very, very tough because of all the loose snow. That might be an opportunity for those further back to catch up. But maybe another indication that the Norwegian technical team have not made the right decision today.
I feel that that's probably what's going on here because well, when you look at the names, when you look at Lotte and Tiril Veng, the twins, they are so good normally in the classic technique. Nakstad as well.
So next time they come to the stadium, they will change the skis for the free technique, and then it will be a total.
So just over 500 meters to go before the end of the second lap, and once they've completed that will be the halfway stage, and crucially the exchange of skis from the longer classic to the shorter skating. And you might have heard Kjell-Erik Christiansen on the mic, the stadium mic, just calling out the names of the leaders. And Babala, who's been there for a long time, if she wins this, she certainly deserves the gold medal because she's been brave enough to dictate the pace at the front. But I still don't think it's the wisest decision, especially when you see the size of that leading group. Further back, what have we got? 22 athletes in 22 seconds. They're all in with a chance of winning this one if they've got a good pair of skating skis. How would you prepare your skating skis in these sort of conditions?
Well, over half a metre of snow fell in the last 24 hours, and it's now down to -1. So I think it's this new and compressed. It's a damp snow, so you want good water runoff. So kind of large-sized rills structure in the base of the ski, and that wicks off the water as fast as possible. And of course, we don't have these cut tracks in the freestyle, the skating part, and on slightly more difficult 2.5 kilometer lap for the freestyle.
Yeah, the base preparation of the ski, I think over the last 25 years, that's probably been the biggest development equipment-wise. Obviously, the skis have got stiffer and stronger and lighter. The boots are stiffer, stronger, lighter. But once they learnt the importance of the structure of the base of the ski, we started to see some remarkable ski speeds on both the flat and the downhill.
So much so, and the winner yesterday in the individual 10 kilometer from Norway, Martine Hagen, she stated so clearly, my skis were prepared beautifully today, and she knew from the word go that she could be a contender, and of course she took the title.
Well, I was just thinking Zambabala was going to go for a break there, but it was short-lived. I think in the end it was just a case of moving off the tracks, looking for somewhere where she had better grip with the skis, and she's been tracked stride for stride by the Germans. Belgium has now moved up into the leading 3 as well. Number 13 going round, another of the Germans, Antonia Freibel. Their future looks pretty rosy. Mike, juniors competing like this at Junior World Championship is usually an indication that Not all of them, but some of them will make it in senior level as well.
And I think also it's showing the strength here. Look at that, the three German girls, just second, third, fourth place. The strength, the depth of German cross-country skiing, it's good. It's a bright future for them.
Well, I wonder if this is the result of all the success that they had. I was trying to think, what was it, 2003, 2004, 2005 with Teichmann and Angera, two of their main competitors. I think the German senior team struggling a little at the moment. In the women's side, they've got Denise Herrmann, who's been very good on the sprints.
So the change coming up, and it's a strange feeling in the legs when you're going from this, almost the running technique, I suppose comparable to running, and then jumping onto a bike. It feels that different.
I can tell you it is not as hard as the transition in a triathlon, where you go from the bike to the run. You don't have, the muscles don't suffer. Technically, it takes a little bit of getting used to.
I love the way, sorry Patrick, there was a little cloth put above the bindings there when the snow was so heavy 15 minutes ago.
Yeah, good thinking, good thinking. We have seen in the past coaches leaving the ski binders on the ski. In fact, was it Maurice Magnificat in the Olympic Games?
I think it was in the 50 kilometre, wasn't it? He had the tie over the ski and he just could not move, and he couldn't get it off because he was tied into his bindings. That's a fast change around there for Zambalova.
Now let's have a look at the tracks. Well, they've been saved partially by the fact that the snow has eased off over the last 20 minutes.
Now I think we'll see from this point on, Patrick, the red suits of Norway, the first of the Norwegians, just trying to get a handle on that. It's of course it's Lotte Weng, but she was almost 8 seconds behind, and they'll be trying to close the gap down quickly.
Yeah, she's on her way up actually towards that leading group already, Mike. There she is wearing number 24. Well spotted. She's done well. She's closed the margin from over 30 meters on the back of that leading pack down to about 10 at the moment. Lots of Russians in that leading group. Number 18 just picking out Takizawa of Japan. Nice to see that the Japanese have juniors. They've always had one or two seniors who've impressed us, but we've seldom seen their juniors do as well as this.
Yeah, she's been around. This is her third time out at juniors, and then of course she's going to have the under 23s as well, and still only 18 years old.
And she's the other Japanese we should watch out for is Yukari Tanaka, who's wearing bib number 11.
Zambalova is just trying so hard to maximise, to gain a few more meters ahead of the three German girls.
Well, I have to say I'm impressed with Zambalova's strength. She did all the donkey work on the classic phase. Now, Weng is at the back of that leading group. She's done well to bridge the gap, but Mike, I think the danger here is that Zambalova makes a break, and because Weng is sitting at the back of the pack, she's not going to be able to match it.
She is roadblocked at the moment, and is it slower out front? I'm wondering, with the snowfall earlier, it doesn't seem significant. There have been coaches and athletes skiing around these tracks.
Number 2 going through is Sedova, whose technique would indicate that she's right on her limit at the moment, not looking quite as strong or efficient as she was at the start of the race. Weng could certainly do with going past her.
Just felt that Zambalova was going to be hauled in, and maybe now her strategy should be to just take a little breather if she can and get in behind the three Germans, or certainly not hold on to the lead.
Well, where is your money? This is a difficult one to call. Look, if you look at the body language of all the athletes out there, Schaber of Germany wearing 14. It's not the strongest looking technique.
19 minutes into the race now.
Zambalova still looks strong though, doesn't she, Mike? Out front.
Very strong athlete. I'm just wondering if she's going to change her thinking and realise that to lead most of this race is not to her best advantage.
Number 2, Sedova, ahead of Veng.
Number 7, 8, and 9, not so far behind, about 10, 11 seconds.
Now I suspect that this is the other Veng coming up. Lotte Veng has already gone through. Is it number 70? Number 20. It is Tyrrell Veng. Yes, she's made a couple of places over the last kilometre, so she's working hard, but you can see that when it comes to the steeper sections, she's perhaps working a little bit too hard on the flats, not saving anything for the tough climbs here in Val di Fiemme.
This part of the track now, back down into what's called the Zorzi climb, so it comes down here, then they're going to spin around to the right, and then drop down to stadium level, and then the big climb back up to the high point over the bridge, and then back down into the stadium.
The Zorzi climb. I think everyone thinks it's named after Christian Zorzi, the sprinter who really hit the highlights back in 2002 in Salt Lake City. Actually, it's Zorzi, the name of the local farmer, who said you can use my land provided the climb gets my name on it.
They have got one of the climbs here, the Capol climb, and I'm assuming that is from...
That is Jörg Capol.
That is,
that's Jörg Capol, because he was pushing for a long time to have it included, to have the track changed actually from the old World Championship course, and eventually after a lot of badgering they gave in to Jörg and hence gave it the name. And that's a nice touch.
Well, so this is the Zorzi climb coming up, and of course Christian Zorzi is from this valley, and another few great names in cross-country racing, Vanzetta, Antonella Confortola as well from this valley. Giorgio Vanzetta.
Yeah, he was around when Marilio de Zolt was racing, and of course Marco Alvarello. They've had some big stars. It hasn't been an uncheckered history, I think it's fair to say, Mike, but over the years they've been very successful at the senior championships.
So yeah, traditionally, and then challenging the Norwegians at the Olympic Games. And
here goes Lotte Veng. We just pick up on the move. She's gone from 6th all the way up, level with Zambola now, and that's a good move from Veng. Perhaps the wise move is to tuck in behind the Russian, but she's going to lead that left-hand column as they work their way up the steepest hill here in Val di Fiemme. Still Zambalova in the lead, wearing 3. But she's starting to look a little bit sort of, I was going to say jaded, I didn't mean that in a nasty way, but just the whole technique looks a little heavy, a little cumbersome.
It does. Look at this though, there's so many here, there's 10 athletes can take the gold here. I think it could well go to the Norwegian Lotte Veng at this moment, depends on her strategy, but I do think some of the other Norwegians are going to make contact with this lead group.
So this is the completion of the first 2.5K. They started this lap at 16 minutes, so it's really not taken very long at all. Couple of close falls. That could be interesting when they come into the stadium for the final sprint. And in, 5-6 minutes time, this is going to be where all the action is. But is anyone going to be able to break away before then? We don't know too many Norwegians with a good sprint, Mike. Therefore, you might think that Lotte Veng needs to break clear on the big climb, where she looked very, very good about 2.5 minutes ago.
Maybe she was just, in fact, the turn of pace that she gave on that huge climb, the Zorzi climb, maybe she was feeling that for the next time round, and the next time will be into the finish.
Well, if it comes down to a question of numbers, the Russians and the Germans are in the best position, because we've got 3 Russians, 3 Germans in that leading group. We've got 1 Norwegian. We've got a Swede, which I think is Henriksson, who's still up there, number 5 it is. And just off the pace, the Japanese with a very, very good run. Now Weng is upping the pace, and she's going to make everyone hurt. She's obviously supremely confident to go this far out. Over 2,000 metres still to go. Just about 5 minutes 10, 5 minutes 20 of racing.
Lotta Weng, she reminds me a little bit of Therese Johaug. Similar frame, very light body weight, and well, the tempo maybe not quite as dynamic, but it is dynamic, it is fast.
Well, they've not let it go yet. Henriksson at the back of the pack could do with moving up a few places if she's going to have a chance of medaling here. Some very, very strong athletes indeed. Just checking out Sedova. Anna Divik, number 12. Apologies to her. Henriksson in the second group that we saw just a moment ago.
Well, nine into 3, it just doesn't go. 9 athletes fighting for those 3 medals.
I think Sarah Schaber in second place at the moment, starting to look fresher and fresher as this race goes on. She's got bib 14 for Germany, and feeding off the technique and the slipstream of Weng in front of her.
Zambalova's still there, third place. She's taken that breather that I think she needed, or the psychological breather from leading now into third, so she's still lining herself up, I would say, if she can stick with this climbing pace.
Now, I wonder how important it is to have a sister who's right at the top of her game at senior level. Heidi Weng, of course, who we've seen producing some very good results this year. If you're her younger sister and you get into skiing, surely the competitive side of it comes naturally.
I think so, and clearly, genetically, they're all pretty good in that family, and then it's about technique, it's about mindset, and I think it's all there for the Weng twins in this race.
Yeah, there was certainly a little boost coming in from Weng, and she's got rid of just about everyone, but hanging on like a terrier is Sarah Schaber of Germany, who's still going pretty well. Zambolova closes the gap once again as the steepness of the hill eases off, and Weng has got to be a little bit careful, because by this stage she'd have hoped to have at least a 20-25 metre lead, and it just hasn't come.
Sedova, bib number 2, she's beginning to suffer. You can just feel well, look at the glide here on the German skis. This is good news, I think, especially the big descent into the stadium.
That's very good, and I think Schaber will be thinking, if I can stay with them to the top of the final hill, I should have the faster skis coming down into the stadium, and that's why she didn't hesitate but to back off and tuck in behind Weng once again.
We can't write off Julia Belger on the right of our screen either, Patrick. She's trying to get past, she's trying to move into an attacking position. She's just going ahead of the Russian now, Zambalova.
Yeah, we saw Belger at the Tour de Ski, just getting some experience in the early days of the Tour de Ski. Oberstdorf hosting some sprint events, and the prologue, of course, she looked okay in that. And I guess when you've competed against the world's best, to come back to junior level isn't quite so intimidating.
I don't think so. I mean, it's of course the athlete's so fired up. It means so much to get the medals here.
27 minutes on the clock at the moment. Now, normally, under normal conditions, the race would take about 27, 28 minutes. So we can tell already that the classic leg was very, very slow compared to normal.
It was indeed. Snow's still falling though, so for the men's or for the juniors race coming up, in just over an hour, again, it will be possibly a little tactical. Oh, look at this. This looks like Schaber.
I think Schaber has taken the lead once again and taken advantage of the fact that she's got the fastest pair of skis on her feet. Weng is hanging on in second, but she's having to work hard despite the fact that she should be able to rest behind the German. But Schaber looking very good. Zambalova is still there. She's not given up yet, despite the fact that she lost her lead after 7 kilometers. And Julia Belger at the back of that 4. Are we looking at the 3 possible medalists, plus the person who's unlucky enough to finish in 4th place. Down towards the stadium. Oh, can you believe it? After all that work, Julia Belger's taken a fall, and we're down to a 3-way race. And Germany will be massively disappointed with that, but they'll be delighted to see Schaber pulling away at the front of the field.
Oh, what a pity that is for Julia Belger. That is the worst possible moment. You cannot really come back from this. You're going to lose 15 seconds.
At least. Never fall at the bottom of the hill, fall at the top, and then you've got some time to build the momentum. But she's not in 4th anymore. She's not 5th, 6th, 7th. I think she's down in 8th or 9th after that tumble. But all eyes on the front 3. Schaber for Germany leading the way at the moment. Weng in 2nd place. That's Lotte Weng in 2nd. And Elisa Zambalova, who did all the work in the first half, is still there, looking dangerous in 3rd.
Well, surely Weng is going to put an attack here. She practiced, she felt for it last time. No, not able to react. Well, she's still 2-3 meters behind.
She needs to be right on the heels of Schaber. Weng, if she wants to be in contention coming through. Some of the slower skiers are about to be lapped. Number 60 needs to move to the right. That's Sarah of USA. Just make sure that she leads plenty of space for the leaders. And through they come, and another attack coming in from Schaber. Lotte Weng trying to hang in there. Zambalova is still there, and the Preva has done well to get into 4th place, closing the gap, which was quite significant after they came off the last flat section.
Oh, what a turn of pace there from the German, from Sarah Schaber, and surely that's enough to take this title as long as she stays on her feet, unlike her teammate.
Well, around the last descent, and now she stays to the left-hand side, and look at the margin that she's opened up. Weng has been overtaken by Zambalova. The Norwegian skis have not been good today, and Schaber looks over her shoulder. She knows that victory is hers, provided she stays on her feet for the next 100 metres. And what an impressive win it's going to be. 2nd place, 3rd place, yet to be decided. Zambalova moves back into runners-up position, number 3, and is looking good. Lotte Weng finds a 3rd or 4th wind in the closing stages, but coming strongly for Sweden, and a brilliant finish from the Swede coming in. Looks like Divik, who's pushed up for 3rd. It is. What a fantastic comeback from her, and Lotte Weng, after all that work, pushed down into 4th place.
I am so surprised, and especially in the glide factor down the all-important final descent. You need fast skis. I really feel a little sorry there for Jonna Sundling. She had bad skis in the classic, but boy, did she come through in the freestyle to finish, what, 7th?
That is the pain of finishing 4th. She cannot believe it. She did so much work. You can't take anything away from her. Oh, and look who finishes way down the order. Number 9, Katarina Hennig. Belger, who was leading and took the fall, finishing in 9th place, 29 seconds. You suggested 15, Mike. 29 seconds lost with that tumble.
I think, Patrick, to be in the medal contending positions and then to take that fall, your spirit gets crushed as well. And by the time she got back on her feet, so many of the athletes had passed her. Well, what a race.
Yeah, typical scenes at the end of a tough race, and the slower it is, the harder it is. Believe you me, if it was hard and icy, they would have been round that course 5 minutes quicker at least, but not today. No one's complaining about the snow. We haven't seen any this season, so it's probably one of very few times that they've raced on natural snow this year.
And it's still, well, they say it's still going to fall more and more snow due to land in the valley over the next few days.
Now, Zambalova, Mike, who led, do you think she made a mistake?
I'm still very impressed with her. I think she tried, her strategy must have been break the field, get out front, keep it safe, but it didn't work, and then she had to rethink. But I do think expending all that energy at the front for, what, 6 kilometres has to have taken something out of her sting at the end.
And on the same note, did Weng make a mistake by leading the last 6? What did she lead? The last 4K, certainly.
I think so. She tried again. She felt as, can I break them? She decided not, but it was too late. She was done by then.
Well, what a great race by Anna Divik, who comes from Falun in Sweden, where the World Cup Tour will be going at the end of the season. There's your winner, Schaber of Germany. She did nothing wrong, and her technicians did nothing wrong either. You don't open up a gap like this on the downhill without having the best pair of skis.
And yeah, it's a massive teamwork, isn't it, to get the right gear, the right wax, the right base. And I think that Divik did so well, the girl from Falun, to come through. She tripped. If we see it again, she nearly fell in this home straight.
Yeah, can we find out where Divik was after the first exchange? We'll try and give you some idea where she was after 5 kilometers. She was down in 9th place, 6.9 behind, so she didn't have to make up quite as much ground as the Norwegian Weng.